Today we're on lesson 94, and if you look on page 547, there's some graphs there that look way different than anything that we've had before. So we're supposed to write the equations of these graphs. So I want to take pictures of just these two. Bring that in here. All right, so we haven't done anything that looks like this before. So in order to do this, what you need to do is think about the graph that goes like this. Comes through here and here. Okay, so what is that the graph of? Starts at 0, goes up, comes down, and back to 360. That's sine, correct? Well, the graph that's here on the page is the reciprocal of that graph. So we're going to do the same thing that we always did. We'll have y equals the center line, which is 0, so we don't have to put anything. The amplitude is 1. And because this original graph is sine, what's the reciprocal of sine? That's not x, it's theta, by the way. If you look at the y-axis here. The reciprocal of sine is cosecant. So this is the graph of y equals cosecant of theta. Okay, now this one, here we'll start by sketching this. It starts up here, comes down, touches here, goes back up here, and then touches there. So what is this the graph of? Starts up, comes down, goes back up, and that period is also 360. That's cosine, correct? So the reciprocal of cosine is secant. So this graph, the center line is 0, the amplitude is 1, so it's just simply y equals secant of theta. Okay? All right, now then look at the ones at the bottom of page 547. Take a picture of that too. Now, if we go ahead and sketch those graphs that I told you, where we start at 0, come up, go down, and then back up there. So that is the graph of sine, isn't it? All right. So the reciprocal of sine would be cosecant. Now tell me what the center line is. So this will be y equals the center line 0. And what's the amplitude? What is this point right here? It's 0.5. And it starts by going up, so it's positive. So it'll be 0.5. Reciprocal of sine is cosecant. And the angle right here is theta. Okay, this one. If we sketch this, it starts up here, it comes down and goes back up. So that's the graph of cosine, and the reciprocal of cosine is secant. All right, so the center line here is 10. So it will be y equals 10. It's positive because it starts up and comes down. And the amplitude going from 10 to 10.5 is 0.5. That was cosine, so this is secant, and the angle is theta. All right? So always begin by sketching these reciprocal graphs so that you can see what the original was. That'll make it a lot easier for you. All right. On page 548, we're going to look at graphing tangent. So let's just see here. It's 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, 0, negative 1. And remember, this is cosine comma sine, and tangent is sine over cosine. So let's just see what those values would be to start with. Okay, if we have 0, sine over cosine is 0. So it goes through 0, 0, doesn't it? Okay. What about at 90? It would be 1 over 0. That's undefined. So if we come out here and we put 90 or pi over 2, it cannot be equal to that. It's undefined, so there's an asymptote there. Okay, if we go down here, 270 or negative 90, that would also be undefined because it's negative 1 over 0. So if we come over here, negative 90, it's undefined. And if we come over here to 270, it's undefined there. Okay, what is it right here? At 180, it's 0 over 1, which is 0. Okay, so let's think about some numbers in between here. Like, what about if we put 45 and negative 45? So let me just draw a sketch of that so we can figure that out. 45 would be up here, 1, 1, square root of 2, and negative 45 down here, which would be 1, negative 1, square root of 2. So that's 1 divided by square root of 2. Let's see what that is. .71. So this will be a positive 0.71, and this will be a negative 0.71. So what happens is right here, it's down 0.71, and up here, it's positive 0.71. So if you look on bottom of page 548, you'll see this is the shape of tangent, and it just repeats itself. So here, it's going down, going up. Okay? All right, so that's, and we make that theta, that's y equals tan theta. So on page 549, 94.3, it says to graph y equals minus 2 tan of theta. Okay, minus. I'm going to mark a 2 here and a negative 2. And I know at 90 and negative 90, it's undefined, isn't it? And then again over at 270. 180, we know it goes through 0. Okay. But the negative part of it, where on the negative 45, this would have been a negative 0.71, because it's multiplied by negative 2, guess what? It's going to be positive. All right? So it would be up in here somewhere, and it would go like this. Okay? It still goes through 0, 0. But it's going to be decreasing. Okay? Now, keep that in mind because there's one other graph I need to show you, and that's for cotangent. Okay? Look, just think about the graph of negative tangent. It decreases from left to right, but it goes through 0, 0. The last one we're going to do is y equals cotan of theta. And I want you to think of the quadrantal angles. All right, so this time, now remember, cotan is cosine over sine. And this is cosine, comma, sine. So at 0, what happens? We get 1 over 0. That's undefined. So at 0, cotangent is undefined. At 90, cotangent is 0 over 1. And at negative 90, it's negative 0, or 0 over negative 1. So both of these places, cotangent is 0. Now we go to 180, that would be negative 1 over 0. So that's going to be undefined. And negative 180 would also be undefined. Okay. Now if we think about the 45-degree angle here and here, cotangent, instead of being opposite over adjacent, it's adjacent over opposite. So it would be, for 45, this is 1 square root of 2. So the cotangent would be, it's tangent is opposite over adjacent. It would be the same thing, right? So it would be, for negative 90, it would be negative. Oops, negative 45, sorry. And then for positive 45, it would be, for negative 45, it's negative. Positive 45, it's positive. So it's up here like this. And then if we looked over here, this one would be negative. So it would be down here. So here's what's happening. Cotangent looks like the graph of negative tangent, doesn't it? It's decreasing. But the big difference is that let's go back here. This is not correct. That should just be 1. The big difference here is that the negative tangent goes through 0, 0. Cotangent does not go through 0, 0. It's undefined at 0, 0. So even though the shape looks the same, we have to keep that straight. And we would label this with theta. And then we can put 1 and negative 1. All right, so that's the graphs of the reciprocal functions.